Aloha everyone, my name is Alessandro and this is the Temple of Surf, the podcast. We'll give you full access to the best surfers, skaters, shapers, surfboard collectors, shop owners in the world. Discover with me their stories, the greater successes, amazing behind the scenes, and much more. Aloha and welcome to the 18th episode of the 5th series of the Temple of Surf, the podcast. Today with us, master shaper and surf legend Gary Linden. I discuss with him about surf, surfboard, surf innovation, and much more. Hello, Mr. Linden. Welcome to the show. Where are you today?
I'm in my shop in Oceanside, California.
How's it going over there in California these days?
California is one of the best places in the whole world. I traveled around a lot, and Southern California is one of my favorites. It's got a little bit of surf every day, and it's never too cold, never too hot, and it's pretty safe place to be.
It's an amazing one. I totally agree with you. So today we're gonna talk about surfboards, a lot of things yourself. But before the first question that I ask everybody on the show, actually I'm really interested. How did it go, the last boardroom show? I saw you were there in a good company, right? Dick Brewer, Pat Rawson, Chris Christensen, other also. How did it go?
Well, it goes pretty well. I mean, the better you prepare for it, and the more time you put into it, getting ready for the show, the better it goes as far as a commercial. I don't put too much time into it. I just kind of put things together and get there with a couple boards and concentrate more on just seeing some friends and talking to people and don't look at it as a real commercial opportunity that trade shows used to be. The trade shows, once the internet came in and people started buying from the internet, it changed a lot. Back in the 80s, the trade shows were great. We'd show up at the trade show with 50 boards and sell them all and go back home, pocket full of money, but those days are gone.
Yes, they're gone, but it's good to see old friends, right? That's it.
See what everybody else is doing, say hello, and chance for the tribe to get together.
Exactly. That's the way I perceive it, from far. I see really a group of people that really respect each other, that get together. And so, and this year with the homage to Pat Rawson and as well Dick Brewer over there, I guess was a special one, right?
Yeah, that's it was great to see Dick again.
Fantastic. So today we're going to talk about, as I said before, many things. Let's start with you as a surfer. What is the most important thing in surfing, in your opinion?
Oh man, it starts with the waves. You got to have some waves, and then you got to just got to have a real desire to go surfing. You have to have motivation. You have to get up and want to go surfing more than anything else. That, to me, that's the most essential part of surfing.
Yes. Is that hidden thing inside you that makes you go out in the morning, even if it's cold, rainy, or whatever, and just go in the lineup and do it, right?
Yeah, it's kind of a ritual, or, it's a healthy exercise, and it's just a cleansing feeling for your mind and your soul. It's the best thing going.
Yeah, it's amazing what surf can do to people, right? But certain people, they have a different effect. They get more upset, or they just try to. They don't take advantage of surf per se. But what to do? We cannot please everybody, right?
No, it's like everything in life. If your expectations, or you have expectations of any kind, then you can always be disappointed. But if you just do it because you want to do it and you don't have any expectations, then it usually works out better.
Yeah, I like the way you describe. Very, very nice. You go no expectation, and if it turns up in a great session, it's even better. Put a smile on your face.
Yeah.
Right. Fantastic. What was your first proper surfboard, and do you still have it?
Oh boy. My first surfboard was a balsa wood 8-foot by 18-inch single fin that I bought for $20 with my paper route money.
Wow.
And had to repair with my dad, learned to repair when I was 12. And I wish I still have it, but that was 60 years ago. So it didn't survive.
Sometimes has passed from that moment to today, but definitely that was a heavy board, right? Not.
Oh, it was so heavy. I think I weighed 85 pounds, and the surfboard probably weighed about 40. So it was a mess, but took me a long time to really learn to surf because the board wasn't, was kind of a handicap, but I still had fun.
Definitely. And from that board, when you move like to let's call it less heavier board.
The next board I bought was a used board that had been redone. It was a Gordon and Smith, and it was still pretty heavy. And then that lasted about a year or so. And I think my first custom new board, I was about 14 or 15, something like that. So it took me a while. Things went slow, didn't have a lot of money, and I just had to get by with what I could get.
But you were able to travel the world, right? I mean, you saw a lot of places during all these years. Which wave was particularly impressive for you that you will always remember?
Well, there's just so many of them, but I think that when we were younger, we were always searching for the perfect point break. Like the endless summer, we were looking for. And then when I finally did get to Jeffreys Bay in 1984, I realized that that's probably the best point break in the world. But and I love it. But my favorite wave probably in the whole world is Todos Santos Island. It's where I surf so much.
Amazing. Thanks for sharing. And in your career, you met a lot of surfers from all over the world. Was there a particular meeting with one of them that you consider very, very meaningful?
Well, in the early days, the people that I looked up to were usually surfer shapers. Like Skip Fry had a big impression on me. Bob McTavish and Wayne. I got to watch in 1969. I got to watch Bob McTavish shape a board for Wayne Lynch.
Not bad.
And that stayed with me. Tom Morey made a big impression on me and on how to actually conduct a surfboard business. Like I ordered a board from him. It came out too heavy. I was a little kid, and he told me, well, just stay with the board you have if you like it. And so I always learned that. I learned from that make the customers. It wasn't about selling a board. It was about people were coming to you for a surfboard and something that they wanted, a toy. Bob McTavish taught me we were toy makers, and so make sure that your customers leave happy, whether they bought a board from you or whether they just got some advice, but just, there was a connection between you and the person you're making the surfboard for, and that make sure they get what they need, make sure they get what they want. Surfers, I looked up to and enjoyed the company of a lot of the big wave riders, because that's what my passion is. But I also always looked for somebody who was educated and a gentleman. And I think Greg Long stands out to me as one of the most complete humans that I know. I've got plenty of friends, and I love all my surfer friends, but Greg's really special. And as far as an athlete that goes out and beyond what I could possibly ever imagine, as far as getting themselves prepared and fit, Billy Kemper is just incredible.
Charging, right?
Well, it's not just what he rides, it's just what he does in the background, with his diet, with his training program, with just how focused he is on being the best that he can be.
What does it take? I mean, maybe it's a silly question, but what does it take for riding a big wave? Of course, a lot of courage, but what does it take, in your opinion?
Commitment.
Okay, very important. Right? You can
It's
tell.
like it's the thing that when people, I mean, it's a certain mentality that big wave surfers have, and it's hard to explain. But what the common thread, because not all of us are alike, but different personalities, everything else.
Of course.
But everyone that I know, you have to be able to commit to taking a chance. You have to paddle into a wave, and there's no guarantee you're going to even come out alive. But you have to go, I'm going for it. And so you commit in all aspects of your life, Like I know people that never get married because they don't want to commit, I mean, it's a bunch of stuff, but you just go, dude, I'm going for it.
Yeah.
I'm going for it. Whatever happens, I'm going to handle it.
Yeah.
You have to like a good wipeout. It's like you watch the MMA fighters, like my favorite guy's Nate Diaz, because he just literally gets the shit kicked out of him till the other guy can't even punch. And then he just kind of knocks the other guy out. He can take it, you got to be able to, once people see that you don't mind having wipeout and you're going to recover and you're going to go for it anyway, you get a lot more waves.
Yeah.
You're not scared.
Definitely. And commitment is so important, as you said, in life as well. And it reminds me where you were talking, I go back in the days on the Waimea and Greg Knoll and all those surfers, right? It took a lot of commitment as well for, getting a wave and not to look back, right? And always look forward to the next one.
Yeah. There's I'm friends with Pat Curran. I was friends with Greg Knoll. I got to meet a lot of my heroes and have a one-on-one relationship with them. And it's pretty special people. And there's so much similarity with them. And, I mean, I was talking before Greg died. I saw him about a year before he passed away. And I was telling him about how, he says, you're still riding big waves, Gary? And I go, yeah. And he goes, and I go, but it's more challenging now than it was before, because I got to jump up and I have to deal with wherever my feet land. So I'm not really in a good stance. And he just looked at me and he goes, be careful, Gary. So it's like we're all kind of connected and we know what each other, how driven each other are or have been. I'm going to be 72, so me riding a lot of more big waves is probably not going to happen that much. But and that's where Greg was, But you look back and you go, take it easy, you guys. You're starting to risk more than we used to. In each generation, those guys didn't risk as much as my generation. Greg Long's generation risked a lot more than I do. They're riding bigger waves. They got better equipment. You got inflated vests. You got rescue skis. You got safety protocols. So it allows you to ride bigger waves. But that doesn't mean when you take it on the head in a bigger wave, it's going to be any more friendly than it was when we did.
No. The waves are almost the same, right? I mean, but also they grow, right? Because of the ecosystem that that we are creating, right? But nevertheless, yes, the waves are an impartial judge for everybody, no matter about the equipment or the safety. And so you are 72 years old, but do you feel 72 years old or no? It looks
Well, I don't know how 72 is supposed to feel. I can only look at people that are my age, and I think I look younger and feel better than they do. Most of them. I mean, there's some people that that are fortunate and taking care of ourselves, and has used safe surfing to keep us both mentally and physically healthy. But just a word to the wise. If you think you feel bad at 60, wait till you get to be 70.
Okay.
And if you complain to me when you're 50, I'm just going to laugh at you because 50 is the prime of life,
Okay. For me, there's still 20 years to go. I will tell you a little bit later. It's okay. I will not complain next time.
I used to think that when I was going to be 50, that the world was going to end and I wouldn't be able to do anything anymore. But every 10 years, it becomes more challenging. Every 5 years becomes more challenging. And to keep it going now, it's not for me about riding the biggest wave anymore. It's being able to keep surfing.
Yeah.
So your expectations, once again, play into what you're able to do.
Definitely. I was talking with Nat Young a few episodes ago, and he told me, like, Alessandro, I'm 70. He's 72 as well, I think, some around that.
About 74.
74.
Yeah.
And he told me, like, I want to keep surfing, and like, the worst thing that can happen to me is one day that I cannot surf anymore, because that keeps me stable in my life, right? And so he said, even if I surf 5 ways per day, I'm happy, I'm content. That's the most important thing for me right now. So
yeah, I try and get 3.
Okay. Anything, just we said before, no expectation. You go and then you get what the wave offered to you, right? What the ocean offered to you. And so, yes, before actually you were saying a couple of things that make me think to the next question. You said that your first balsa board you repaired with your dad, and then you thought about Bob McTavish and Skip Fry. So how did it happen that you start to shape surfboards?
Well, Skip Fry, I was in the Wind and Sea Surf Club, and Skip Fry went to Australia, and he brought back a Bob McTavish V-bottom. So those were the first shortboards, and they were eight. This one was 8 foot, and everybody in the club, we went to Mexico on a trip one time, and we got to try that board, and it was just, it was different, and it was something new, and nobody was making them. So Skip shaped one for one of my friends, and he loaned me that board, and I was able to get a blank. You couldn't even buy blanks in those days. Only the manufacturers could buy blanks. So I got somebody sell me one, and I shaped my first one so that I could have, an 8 foot V bottom. And then the manufacturers weren't making them because they had an inventory of hundreds of longboards that they needed to sell. So that opened up the backyard industry. So my friends go, well, I want one of those boards. Will you make me one? And then, I started making boards.
It started like that, so simple as in the backyard, and then he goes into a business that lasts so many years, more than 50. We are saying if you are 72, so congratulations! It's just an amazing journey, right?
It's been a great journey.
Yeah, of course. And so I asked you at the beginning of the interview, what is the most important thing in surfing? If I have to ask you the same in shaping, what would you answer?
Well, the most important thing in shaping, I think, is to be a surfer and know what you want. I tell people the whole time, like I just told you, I shaped that first board so I could surf different, so I could surf how I wanted to surf, and that's how I make boards. The whole time I've been making boards basically for myself, so I could surf better, and that's that motivation. It has allowed me to make really great boards. I work with some of the best surfers in the world, and I've learned from them.
Yeah,
because they've surfed better than me, so they could help me define what I wanted. But it was for me. It was for me to be able to surf, because surfing is the most important thing in my life, and being able to shape my boards. I think I shape better boards for me than anybody else would.
okay.
And if I didn't shape, I would find the guy who shaped the best boards in the world, and I'd make sure he was my best friend.
Of course.
Important to me.
Of course. And yeah, at the end, like people were like thanking you for getting the boards from you, not people in general, as a great surfer, while you were using them as a kind of a way to improve your own surfboards for you.
We're working together, like I get great pleasure out of somebody else riding one of my boards. And I don't mean it was for me in a selfish way. What I mean, it was for me, that was my motivation. And that brings me back to what's the most important thing for shaping, was having that motivation to want to surf those boards. Because if you don't surf them, it's like, if you've never ridden a big wave, you've never ridden a 40-foot wave or something like that, you have no idea what you need. You just don't.
Yeah.
The only way you can make a board, if you don't have the personal experience, is be a really good listener and listen to somebody tell you exactly what they need. And there's a few people that are really good at that. I'm not that good at that. I have to relate it to my own experience. And I think that that's what I was trying to explain by saying it was for me. I want that experience. I need to know, and then I can put that into a functioning piece of equipment.
That's communication between a surfer and a shaper that somehow, and a lot of people maybe will not agree on what I'm about to say, but somehow today is getting lost, because there are so many shapers out there that are not really shapers, that are just producing boards like that. And that connection with the surfer is not existing, right? And so there is no improvement. Do you agree on what I'm saying or no?
Yes, but there's two sides to it. The ability to use a computer shaping machine is really allowed us to fine tune designs. So your big major brands that are mass producing a lot of boards in Thailand or wherever, they still have a shaper behind that who's working with a team of surfers who's defining the designs and evolving the function of the surfboard. What is missing is having to go in and do it by hand and listening to the surfer and that experience. So nowadays, my business is cut way down. I don't try and do a lot of surfboards. I just like to make available my experience to the few people that want one, that would come in and, what do you think I need, Gary? I want to surf this and I weigh this much and this is how I surf. And, maybe like a cobbler makes a pair of shoes in the old days, make you something custom that you really, you can share that experience. And like Bob Matawi says, we're toy makers. I want to make some killer toys.
Yeah.
And see people smile and have fun. That's what I'm about right now.
That's amazing. And you still hand shape all your boards, right? Or how does it
I hand shape almost none of them.
Okay.
I rarely hand shape. I hand shape my agave boards and my balsa wood boards, but my body, my hip hurts from shaping for 50 plus years. My arms hurt for shaping 50 plus years. And there's no need for me to do it. The machines do a better job of replicating my designs. Its ability to define those designs and get them. So that's the grunt work of it. But if I'm going to sacrifice my body, I don't want to do it for $100. You know,
I understand.
I try that machine do it. My art pieces that I have, you know, that I'm going to make a few $1,000s or something on, then I'll take that. But I'm saving my body for surfing.
Good.
That's priority.
Priority number one. I agree with you. To go out there is the most important thing, right? So let's focus on that. In your opinion, what is next to achieve in sustainability in surfing?
Well, I think sustainability in general is about maximizing use and not wasting. That's the first step. Like, it doesn't really matter what material you use if you're wasting it. Like, I don't want to see resin on the floor. I don't want to see fiberglass in the bin. I mean, it's waste. So if you're conscientious of your uses of the materials, then that's the first step. And once you're in that mode, then we can look for sustainable materials. Like, I've been working with agave stalks as a blank, balsa wood as a blank. I have a concept for using agave fibers as a replacement for fiberglass, but I can't find anybody who is willing to invest the money to get the weaving machine to actually do it. But it's feasible. A friend that's working in Kenya producing agave stock blanks right now. Oh. And so I can make 100% organic surfboard. We would need to make the resin out of the juice from the leaves of the agave instead of using the heart to make tequila. There's a way to make resin out of it. But once again, it needs to have some investment, and it's probably not an investment that will pay back. But what it would do is just to use an example that material is finite and consumption is infinite. And capitalism calls for us for making a lot, making more, make more, make more, make more. But what we really need to do to preserve the planet and the lifestyle that we like is make less. So if we did absolutely nothing, we didn't do anything but feed ourselves and house ourselves, we would be doing more for our planet. And if you think about it, that's the goal. And it's counter to how modern thinking is, but it's the key to the future.
Definitely, I agree with you. And so interesting, the agave story that you told me about making it from the resin, and as well in Kenya, right? So I will look into it, right? It's very fascinating, right? To discover new way of alternatives to fiberglass or something to complete. I don't know if fiberglass ever could be replaced, but
I'll tell you that the agave fibers were from the leaves were used. It was called sisal in the old days because it was that's the port in the Yucatan. So okay. They do a bale and they'd send a bale of the fibers, raw material, to Europe, and that would be turned into the ropes that were used for the shipping industry before nylon. So it's very, very strong. It's incredibly strong, and I've had some woven in the Yucatan into sheets like fiberglass, but they're hand woven, so you can't do big things. But the strength is there. I know it could replace fiberglass, at least as far as the strength in surfboards.
Yeah. And like again, as I said before, it doesn't have to substitute the fiberglass. No, it can be for use for those surfers that want to take say a more eco-friendly option or action. You know, right? So you don't have to. Yes, consumism. You cannot have like two, three, four, but it's good that people might be interested in these projects, and then instead of buying another fiberglass board, they might buy another a gal one or a balsa, a bit heavy, but still, right?
Yeah, it's just it. I think that, like I said, the most important thing is not to waste, and the second thing is to explore other opportunities. Like when you take a look, well, I didn't know you could make a board out of an agave stalk. Well, maybe there's something else that's even better. But you have to leave that comfort zone of being able to go buy a foam fiberglass surfboard at the local surf shop. You have to be able to open your mind. And I don't have all the answers, and neither do you. But somebody else might.
Yeah.
We all contribute. We all open the door. Let's see what comes out.
Except definitely. Do you have like I know that you will answer me that uh, what you're looking to for is to continue to surf, but do you have like any future project you're working on? Maybe you want to write a book about all your amazing careers and stories. Uh, do you have a project like in the drawer that is there, or or you just like the life as it is today, and you like to be there in Oceanside, meeting your client, meeting your surfer, your friends, and go out there and surf? Tell me a little bit about.
Well, there's a book project in the works, but it's going to take a long time. And my daughter and I are writing it, and she's got a busy career, so I don't know if it'll get done before I before I die. But we're getting all the stories together. But I always have projects going on with we're doing a virtual surfing tour we did last year, and have a virtual world championship tour. I'm working on a project with a golf course club in Ensenada that will be a surf golf club.
Okay.
So that private, and I'm going to be the surf club pro. So take some of the people to surfing the Ensenada area. But I always got something going on. I never really sit still. I just, that's not my nature. But,
you keep yourself busy.
yeah, I keep myself out of trouble.
Okay. I like the way, like you were saying, I was repairing my first surfboard with my dad, and now your daughter is helping you to write a book about you. So I like that in your family, the relationship, a strong relationship between father and daughter, father and son. It's something more than just a book for you two, right?
Yeah, it's a little bit of my legacy, my history, and I have a grandson now, and
Congratulations.
that's one of my big projects. It's I want to teach him how to surf and teach him how to take a punch. And
how old is he?
He's 6 now. So
okay. So it's a good age for starting to surf. I don't know about taking a punch. I hope not.
Well, it's like like little kids, they like to hit, and they think they're a tough guy because they can hit, and I go, well, but a tough guy is somebody who take a punch. Anybody can hit, so you got to get prepared for life. But because you're Italian. But one thing I did learn by traveling, I lived in Brazil for a couple of years. I have a house in Brazil. I traveled all through South America. And the one thing that has endeared me to the culture is the value of family, how family comes before anything else. In Italy, I've spent a lot of time in Italy, shaped in Italy, and it's very, that's where it all started, right? And
exactly, la familia.
culture, that's right? It's a Roman Latin culture. And the first time I went to Italy, I went because I've been in Brazil a lot, and I went, wow, this is where it all came from. Every family getting together, big family, everybody talking loud, eating and drinking and having a great time. And I just learned, because in America, we aren't like that. We 18, we leave home and we try and make it on our own. And we maybe keep in touch with our parents, but it's not a family unit. And I'm really fortunate that I learned that. And I have that unit here with my family, and it's just, it means everything. That's where all your strength comes from.
Definitely, yes. I totally agree with you. And thank you for praising the Italians. I like that. So we're going to finish our interview with a short question and answer session. So please answer the first thing that comes up to your mind. The questions are the same for every guest in the show. So let's start. What is the best surfboard that you ever ridden?
My 1971 Diffenderfer, shaped in France.
Okay, wow.
My Diffenderfer.
Oh, fantastic. And who is your favorite shaper?
Of all time?
Yes, of course.
Dick Brewer.
Dick Brewer, of course, amazing legend. Personal question, your favorite song?
Jimi Hendrix, Voodoo Child.
Wow. We go back to the amazing. I totally agree with you. What's your favorite surf spot? I think I know the answer.
My favorite surf spot is Todos Santos Killers.
Exactly. You were saying before. Your favorite surfer of all time?
I guess Kelly Slater.
11 times world champion, just say that, right? I mean, consistent.
There's so many surfers that, but it's so amazing, that what he's been able to do and how long he's been able to do it. And it's a hard question for me to answer because there's just so many of them. So why don't you got to pick the GOAT.
We're going to pick the GOAT. And the last question is a little bit unusual. We want to know, but we talk about family. So I'm sure you're going to have a great best relationship advice for us.
Communication. And I'm not good at it. I just have to learning process every day. But the more that you could talk to people and be able to listen, not just talk at them, but have a real exchange of how you feel and be open to hearing things you maybe don't want to hear, and taking them in and not being defensive and not being aggressive, but just an equal exchange of ideas.
Yeah, that helps the relationship, but also helps the business of a shaper, right? Because we said before, exchange and being able to improve, even if people tell you, I don't like your board because it doesn't drive good for me, then you can change something to make it better, right?
Well, I'm glad you brought that back up, because it was one thing I wanted to say when we were talking about that subject. But, when in the 80s, I made some of the best surfers in the world's boards, and some of them would tell you, oh, the board's great. And you can't learn anything from that. But they didn't want to hurt my feelings, or they didn't want to offend me or anything. But the best people, the best team riders, are the ones with that board sucked. But they could tell you why. And then you made a better one. Or it worked pretty good, but it didn't do this. And it didn't do this because of this. And that's how you learn. That's how you get better. And the bottom line is, if somebody can, that's what I said, to be able to tell you, be open enough to listen to somebody, to give you, can critique your work or your personality, or give you criticism and not be offended by it, but to learn from it.
Definitely. No, super, very, 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 very important. So thanks a lot, Mr. Linden, for being on the show with me today. And I look forward to talk to you very, very soon.
Thank you, Alessandro.
I wish you a great day.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Hi, it's me again. I hope you enjoyed our today's episode. If you want to know more about us, please follow www.thetempleofsurf.com and all our social media. Mahalo!